Obviously, credit to Maryland. I told Mark after the game, I thought watching on film they were getting better, even though maybe they didn't have the results they wanted. So credit goes to them to begin with. But I just didn't think we never were in sync. And then obviously defensively in the second half, that stretch of 21 possessions, the first 6 were fine. The last 21 weren't, or 26 were not very good. But a lot of things from the very beginning I didn't think we established ourselves in the paint nearly well enough. Even at halftime, I did not feel that we were where we needed to be from establishing ourselves inside specifically and getting to the foul line more. Obviously, we left a lot of points at the line and missing some one-on-ones, the front ends of them. And then they got us in, a back and forth game a little bit, and credit to them. They made some big shots when they needed to. We had some busted coverages at the inopportune times, and they were able to hold on there. So with that questions, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Start with Jim.
Maryland's 38 points in the paint stands out. What was the biggest issue there with keeping them from the rim?
Can you go ahead, Jim? Because they didn't have the volume up here.
Maryland's 38 points in the paint obviously stands out. What was the biggest issue there of keeping them, away from the rim?
Well, the lineups they played, part of it, playing as small as they did, and then we have some busted coverages in terms of when we were not stopping the ball, when we were exchanging different players. Specifically on lineup adjustments, those type of things. But like I said, I thought we were a step slow all night on both ends of the floor. Why? I'll watch the film and try to dissect that and figure it out and help these guys get a little better. But, they were able to get us in some ball screen situations, and we didn't stop the ball at times, and they did a good job of attacking and finishing, and we made some decisions that allowed them to get out. Was a couple of our turnovers were uncharacteristic that gave them some momentum, some confidence. And when you give a team like that is able to feed off that and get some good things going on their end, it played into what they were trying to do.
Jeff?
Greg, I think we've asked you about getting the ball inside to your big guys before, and I know sometimes it can be the entry passer's not ready, the post guy's not strong enough. Early, what do you think tonight the issue was?
Early tonight, I thought we didn't throw it in. I thought we had guys open, and we talked about it in multiple timeouts. We talked about it at halftime. I think the very first play of the possession of the game, we had Potter open inside or had a guy on his back, and we ended up taking a 3. So just that, whether it's not seeing it, not trusting it to throw it, that's part of it too. You got to have confidence has to flow both ways, that the passer trusts that the receiver's open, that they're gonna get it. But we have to establish. I mean, we have, we don't shoot enough free throws from positions that should shoot a lot of free throws. So we need to, like I said, go through the tape. That'll be dissected and talked about tomorrow and shown. But you're right, Jeff. That's been a constant all year of establishing our interior game first and let the perimeter game play off of what we established inside. And we did not do a good enough job of that. Credit to Maryland for how they were, making it a little harder. But we also left some points on the table by not finishing inside too. Some fadeaways, some uncharacteristic attempts that we'll look at on film and try to get those fixed.
Tom?
Greg, I know defense is always a work in progress throughout the season. Are you concerned at all about your defensive inconsistency, or is this just something that takes time?
Well, I think we played some teams that do different things, and I think anytime you got that many ball handlers on the floor, it puts you in a position where you end up exchanging a lot of things and playing different combinations of lineups. They played small, fair amount of both halves, and I thought that at times gave us trouble, even though we went to just playing one big at a time. So we'll look at the film. Did we get spread out too much? Did we get out of our gaps too much? But you give up a 3 here and there, and then you start getting nervous and you creep out a little bit more and you create some gaps. And then if you have a broken coverage where you don't get the ball stopped on a ball screen or on dribble penetration, they were able to take advantage of every mistake we made. And said, we'll look through the film and figure those things out. But you said credit goes to Maryland to taking advantage of some things that we weren't very good at tonight.
Josh?
Greg, Maryland was pretty animated tonight and seemed to have a decent amount of energy throughout the entire game. Is that something you put any stock in with no one in the stands? Like, is that something that you thought that they did better than you guys, or you guys could do better, or does that not really matter that much?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they've come off a road trip. They've been close here. So like I said earlier, just watching them through the early and, you know, non-conference and then into the conference play, that they had gotten better from how they played at Clemson in the ACC Challenge to how they played against Rutgers. You know, they came back and had their chances against Purdue Saturday. So I think it's a team that was, you know, obviously energized because they were hungry. You know, we've got a target on our back, and you know, from that standpoint, you know, they made some plays and we gave them some confidence too. And that's what happens when you don't, all those things we've talked about, don't establish the post, have some bust defensively, and you give a team confidence, and they fed off of that. And that's a credit to them.
Back to Jim.
You talked about there going with a small lineup. Did you find yourself kind of trying to figure out what the best line was for you? I mean, were you kind of searching a little bit all night, especially in the second half?
Yeah, and I was about to go smaller yet and go, and then Nate, you know, was making some plays against the zone. So I decided not to at that point in time, just because he was keeping us afloat offensively. But yeah, it was, you know, when they got Dante Scott at the 5, who's, you know, probably a 3, and then four other guards around him, it just puts you in a quandary. And that's the challenge of mixing and matching lineups. And, you know, there's advantages to playing big and there's disadvantages to playing big. And obviously continually trying to find, you know, the right combination. Like I said, I thought Nate got going there a little bit in the second half and found some spots in the zone, which is why I stayed with that lineup for the most part. But then, you know, we have I don't know exactly what the score was. We had 2 turnovers there that led to 3-point plays in transition that, you know, allowed them to either retake the lead or extend it by another possession. So, you know, a lot of things that we'll dissect through this tape and learn from. But, you know, I mean, you wondered why I've gone back and forth with only one big in the lineup. Now you see why. Because it's hard to guard when you have multiple ball handlers on the floor and they can really stretch you out. It puts you in a quandary defensively.
Back to Jeff.
Greg, you also mentioned leaving some points at the rim. You said taking some fadeaways. Is Nate to the point now where if he can't back a guy down and get in a scoring position that he's settling for that fadeaway a little too much?
Well, we were, I think, 2 for 8 in the paint in the first half. Or no, 5 for 14. 5 for 14 in the first half. And we only took 5, not counting layups, only took 5 attempts in the paint in the second half. So we need to be more aggressive in the paint. We need to be more forceful. And at times we do it. And then at times we revert back to not being as aggressive and being a little more passive. So we got to continue to help these guys get better and find that happy medium that we can, you know, establish ourselves in the paint. And it doesn't have to be just our 5s or the 2 biggest guys. It's others. And, you know, it's not only not finishing or the choice of shot, but it's also at times we don't throw it in there enough. And not that we have to score from there, but it's such a great playmaking position in terms of distributing, and you shoot a higher percentage from 3 when you throw it in. You get more fouls when you throw it in. So there's a lot of benefits other than just the recipient scoring of throwing the ball into the paint.